Hello, hello. Welcome to part 1 of chapter 3. Just a reminder that this first part here is extra credit, and then the first 2 pages of each subchapter are part of the extra credit portfolio project that you can turn in at the end of the year. So to start off, make sure you take a look at your textbook per usual and go ahead and write down these vocab words and anything that is supposed to go with them. Key concepts. Graphing, you need to find the x-intercepts related to the function. So that's where they cross the x-axis. Using square roots, that's what we're going to practice today, and we're also going to practice factoring. Zero product property means that if a times b equals 0, right, then either a must be 0 or b must be 0. So we have 2 options. We've got 0 times b, that's equal to 0, or we can have b times 0, that is also 0. Oh, that's supposed to be an A. My bad. Perfect. Okay, so this first part here, just like we practiced last week in class, we worked on it graphing with Desmos. Because we haven't quite practiced factoring yet, at this point in the chapter, we use Desmos for these. This first one here has 2 real solutions, the second one has no real solutions, and the last one has 2 real solutions. Now let's go ahead and solve with square roots. So I'm going to do this one in green. So we have t squared equals 400. That means that t square root of t squared equals the square root of 400. So that is t equals plus or minus, or here, let's go a little bit more in depth here. This breaks down into the square root of 4 times the square root of 100, which is 2 times, which is plus or minus 2 times 10. Okay, because the square root of 2, or square root of 4 is 2, the square root of 100 is 10, and 4 times 100, that is 400. So t is equal to plus or minus 20. Okay. This one here we're going to do the same thing, but we have some simplification that needs to happen. So 2k plus 3 squared equals, we're going to add 19 to the other side, and that should leave us with 100. Take the square root of both sides. That's going to be 2k plus 3. The square root of 100 is 10, so plus or minus 10. Then we have two options that we need to break up. So we're going to do 2k plus 3 equals 10. And we have to deal with 2k plus 3 equals negative 10. So 2k, subtract 3, that's 7. Here, we'll do one at a time here. And then k equals 7 over 2. This one we will have 2k equals negative 13. So k is equal to negative 13 over 2. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and box these solutions here. Okay, there's our first one. Here's our, oops, I don't like that shape. Here's the second one. Here is our third one. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this next one. So I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms. So I have 1/7 p squared minus 5/7 p squared equals negative 20. 1 minus 5 is negative 4/7 p squared equals negative 20. I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 7. So it's negative 4 p squared equals negative 140. And now we're going to go ahead and do 140 divided by 4. Let's see here. That is 35. So p squared. So negative 140 divided by negative 4 is positive 35. Take the square root. That's going to be p equals plus or minus the square root of 35. Now, we can't simplify the square root of 35 because that would be 7 times 5. And neither of those numbers you can nicely take the square root of. So we're just going to leave it as such. All right, solve the equation by factoring. So we're going to do factor by grouping. Put this in orange because it's important. So factor by grouping. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is multiply a and c. So this one has a 1, so this is 1 times 36, which is 36. And the two factors of 36 that add to be negative 12 are negative 6 plus negative 6 equals negative 12. So this is going to become 0 equals x squared minus 6x minus 6x plus 36. That's splitting the middle term. And this is the middle term. So that we're going to draw our line. The two things that x squared and negative 6x have in common is an x. So x minus 6. The two things that negative 6x and positive 36 have are a 6, but because this here is negative, we're going to go ahead and make sure to pull out a negative 6. So negative 6, x minus 6. Since these two terms are the same, we can go ahead and finish grouping. So we're going to have an x minus 6 for the two terms that are the same, and then I'm going to take this x right here and put it right here. So x, and then I'm going to take this term here and put it right here. Then we have to set each factor to 0. So I'm going to do that over here. That's going to be 0, and here I'm going to actually move all of this over to make room. Okay, so it's going to be 0 equals x minus 6. That means that x is equal to 6, and this will yield the same result. So x equals 6 is a solution. And we're going to learn about multiplicity next chapter, and that's why we have two of the same zeros. All right, let's go ahead and do this next one. We're going to start by rearranging. So we have x0 equals x. Let's do x squared minus 14x minus 40 equals 0. 1 times 40 is equal to 40. And let's now think of the factors of 40 that add up to be 14. So if I do 40 divided by 4, that is 10. So we could do a negative 10 plus a negative 4. And the reason I'm choosing the negative is because I have a negative 14 right here, and I want this to be negative 14. I also know that a negative times a negative is a positive, so we can use it. Oh, but wait a minute. No, this should be plus. There we go. Problem solved. Okay. So, split the middle term. X squared minus 4x minus 10x plus 40 equals 0. Split down the middle. These two on the left have an x in common. X minus 4. These two on the right have a negative 10 in common. And I'm pulling a negative out because the 10 is negative. So minus 4 equals 0. And now we will have x minus 10 and x minus 4 equals 0. That means x minus 10 equals 0. So set that factor equal to 0, and we have x equals 10. That is the first solution. And then we're going to have our second solution, x minus 4 equals 0, and that is x equals 4. Okay. Let's talk about this one. This one looks crazy, but it's pretty simple actually. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. So this one's going to go here, and this one's going to go there. So I add an x, that'll be 6x squared. I subtract 4 plus x minus 1 equals 0. 6 times negative 1, so 6 times negative 1 equals negative 6. And let's think of the factors of 6 that would add to positive 1. Well, that would be a 3 plus negative 2 equals 1. And I also know that 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Let's go ahead and split that middle term. 6x squared minus 2x plus 3x minus 1 equals 0. Split down the middle. That'll give us, on the left side, it has a negative 2x in common. So this would become, a positive 2x. Let's do a positive 2x. 2x, so this would be 3x minus 1. And then over here on the left, there's nothing we can pull out besides a 1. So I'm going to do plus 1, 3x minus 1. Keep everything the same there. Then we're going to go ahead and group. So we have 2x plus 1. Those are those outside pieces. So just for reference, this piece and this piece. And then we have 3x minus 1 equals 0. Set these two terms, or these two factors, equal to 0. So 2x plus 1 equals 0. 3x minus 1 equals 0. Then you're going to go ahead and solve for x. So x equals negative 1/2. And then x equals positive 1/3. And those are your two solutions. Okay? Which equations have roots that are equivalent to the x-intercepts of the graph below? Okay, well, we have an x-intercept here at 1, and we have one here at 4, negative 1 and 4, right? But you'll notice that our vertex is not quite an integer, right? So anything that is in vertex form, like this one here, this one is not going to work out for us, because this one gives me a vertex, let me write this down, vertex of 1, 4, and we do not have a vertex of 1, 4. I'm going to take a look at this one here. This one also is not going to work, because this means that I have x equals 1 and x equals negative 4. But if you look at our graph, we have x equals negative 1 and x equals 4. Okay, let's take a look at these last few terms here. Okay, so let's see about factoring this one. So we are going to have negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. And the factors of 16 that add up to 10 are 8 plus 2. But we need a negative 10, and I need a positive 16. So I'm just going to use negative 2 plus negative 8 to make negative 10. So I'm going to split my middle term, negative 2x squared minus 2x minus 8x minus 8 equals 0. The first two terms, what they have in common is a negative 2x, so negative 2x is x plus 1. And this on the right-hand side has a negative 8 involved. So negative 8, 8 plus 1. So what I'm doing is basically I'm factoring it out, but if you wanted to check your work, all you have to do is redistribute that negative 8 and you'll get back to where we started. Same thing on this side, you redistribute the negative 2x and you end up back to where we started. Okay, so this is going to be negative 2x minus 8 and x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and solve for each 0. So negative 2x minus 8 equals 0. So this is going to be, when you finish solving it, it should be x equals, right? If I add 8 to the other side, divide that by negative 2, that would be negative 4. So that one's not going to work because we need a positive 4. So this one is out. Okay, let's check this one. So this is going to become x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. We're going to do a times c, which is 1, because there's a 1 here, times negative 4 equals 0. Oops, sorry. Equals negative 4. The factors of negative 4 that add up to negative 3 are 1 and negative 4. So I'm going to go ahead and split that middle term now. So 1x squared minus 1x plus 1x minus 4x minus 4 equals 0. Split the middle term, and this pulls out an x so that we have a x plus 1, and this takes out a negative 4. So negative 4 is x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, so combine my factors here. X plus 1, x minus 4 equals 0. And I don't even have to simplify because that is the same thing as my solution. So this one works. Okay? And let's check this last one. This one's going to be 6x squared minus 18x minus 24 equals 0. I am going to move this one up here so we have more room. 6 times 24, that is a lot. So let me see if I can't pull a 6 out. So I have 6x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. I can divide everything by 6 to get rid of that 6 for now. So that'll be x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. Let's double check, see if any of our other equations look similar. And would you look at that? That looks exactly like B. So I'm not even going to do any more work. I'm just going to say that this one works because that is the same form as B. So here, let me actually circle these ones in orange. Okay, so that one works. And that one works. We're going to go ahead and skip this. These two parts here for number 11 were done during our chapter 2 and 3 project. Okay, first 2 pages are extra credit for the portfolio. And then remember to fill in your own words the vocabulary term using the textbook. Remember, you can get the textbook for free online. So if r is a positive number, then this happens, right? And that is because the square root of negative 1 is equal to I, right? So if you have the square root of negative r, that's the same thing as negative 1 times the square root of r, which is I root r. Okay? Let's move to the next page. Then we have sum and